Hi. Yesterday we finished right in the middle of a page where Fudge has covered his little baby sister Tootsie in stamps, in trading stamps. His mum is not impressed. So I'm going to go back a line or two. Why'd you really do it? I asked him. I want to trade her in for a two-wheeler bicycle like yours, he told me. You can't trade her in, Mom said. She's a person. She's not a book of stamps. Well, she looks like a book of stamps, Fudge said. Mom picked up Tootsie. Well, doesn't she? Fudge asked again, and I could tell Mom was trying hard not to laugh. You know something, Fudge, I said. You're off the wall. You're really off the wall. Off the wall, he sang, dancing around Mom and Tootsie. Fudgy is off the wall. Tootsie laughed. Either that or she hiccuped. It's hard to tell the difference. So the expression off the wall means you're crazy, unusual. Fudge doesn't really understand that though. I followed Mom into the bathroom where she set Tootsie in the basin. 2 years of trading stamps down the drain, I said. Goodbye, stamps, Fudge called from the doorway. Goodbye, goodbye. I'm not going to save stamps anymore, Mum said. I'm going to find a grocery store that gives away something else. An hour later, Dad came back with a U-Haul truck, and we loaded it, and we were on our way. They're moving to Princeton for a year. Remember? As soon as we were through the Lincoln Tunnel, Fudge started singing, M-A-I-N-E spells Princeton. No, it doesn't, stupid, I said. It spells Maine. I know, Fudge said. I'm just making up a song. Maybe you could make it up in your head, Dad suggested, and sing it to us when we get to Princeton. Then it'll be a surprise. A surprise, Fudge said. I like surprises. He was quiet for a minute. Then he said, You know what, Daddy? I'm off the wall. Who told you that? Dad asked. Peter. Didn't you? He asked me. Yeah, I said, I sure did. And you sure are. I'm off the wall, Fudge repeated, just like Peter's map of the world. He rested his head against Mum's shoulder, and I could hear him slipping away on his fingers. He was still wearing his disguise mask. Okay, so now we're on chapter 5. This one's called Small Ones Are Sweeter. What could that mean? Our house, that is Millie and George's house, is so old that the bathtub stands off the floor on legs, and the hot and cold water don't come out of the same tap, so when you're washing your hands you either freeze them or burn them. Mum says you're supposed to put the plug in and mix the water in the basin. That's a lot of trouble. At least we don't have chamber pots. The toilet's actually flush. Outside the house is painted yellow and the shutters are white. The windows and doorways are all slightly crooked. Dad says that's part of the charm of the house. I know better than to tell him what I think. Inside the floors are wooden and they creak when you walk on them. Downstairs is a living room with a piano, a dining room with a table so big you have to shout to make yourself heard. A kitchen with pots and pans hanging all over the place, and a library where the walls are lined with books arranged according to colour. There's a brown leather section, a green leather section, a red leather section, and a tan leather section. Upstairs there's 4 bedrooms, all in a row, and everywhere you look there are fireplaces. There's one in every bedroom. There's one in the living room, another in the dining room, and still another in the library. There aren't any in the bathrooms or the kitchen. My mother and father call it the house fantastic and fabulous and unbelievable. I hear them talking to their friends on the phone, and those are the dumb words they use to describe this place. Our neighborhood is a lot like our house. Old. Every house on the block is a lot like this one, with a small front yard and a big back one. In our backyard, we have George's rose garden and Millie's herb and vegetable garden. The first day we were there, Dad bought a stack of books with titles like Know Your Roses and Know Your Herbs, Organic Vegetables and You, and my favourite, The Agony of Beetles in Your Garden. Well, you didn't have to worry about beetles in New York, did you, Dad? I said at dinner. That's enough, Peter, Dad said to me. That's enough, Peter, Fudge repeated. Cut it out, I told him. Cut it out, he said back to me. Fudge's new game is of repeating everything I say, and it's really driving me crazy this time. Pass the salt, please, I said to Mom. Pass the salt, please, he said, laughing. I pushed back my chair. I can't take it anymore. I mean it. Do something, will you? I begged my parents. But he was already at it. I can't take it anymore. Do something, will you? And he laughed so hard he choked. Dad turned him upside down and whacked him on the back. I want you to stop doing that, Fudge, he said. Do you understand? I don't know why my parents are always asking him if he understands. Because he understands just fine. That has nothing to do with it. Fudge nodded. Because if you don't stop repeating everything that Peter says, I'm going to do more than just whack your back. Get it? Then I couldn't help smiling. Mom has this thing that looks like a sling for carrying Tootsie. Mom hangs it round her neck and then Tootsie fits into it and rides right next to Mom's middle. Looks very comfortable. Sometimes Dad carries Tootsie in it too. Mom says they didn't have them when I was a baby. I missed out on a lot of good things. Every night after supper, we walk into town, stopping at Baskin-Robbins for ice cream. One night, Mom asked me if I would like to wear the sling and carry Tootsie. No thanks, I said. I wouldn't be caught dead wearing a baby around my neck. Oh, Peter, you're so silly. Baskin-Robbins is having a contest. They're looking for names for a new ice cream flavor. So far, I've suggested lemon lunatic, crazy chocolate, and miserable mint. After almost 2 weeks of hanging around the house, I actually met a kid my age. He lives across the street, but he was at scout camp when we first moved here. His name is Alex Santo, and he's going into 6th grade too. He's very small, with hair that hangs into his eyes, and he's always wearing a t-shirt that says, Princeton, class of 91. By the time I met him, I was so lonely and bored, I wouldn't have cared if he had 3 heads, as long as he was my age and wanted to be friends. Alex came over one morning and said, You want to go into business with me? What kind of business? I asked. Worms, he said. Worms? I asked. Yeah, worms, he said again. Worms, Fudge said, jumping up and down the front steps. Wormy, 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 worms. Alex looked over at him. Yeah, don't mind him, I said. He's just my little brother. Oh, Alex said. So what do you say? Sure, I told him, having no idea what kind of worm business Alex was talking about. When do I start? How about now? Alex asked. Okay. What do I do? Well, first we dig them up. Then we sell them to Mrs. Mulder down the street. She pays 5 cents a worm. What does she do with them? I asked. Oh, she doesn't say. Some people think she uses them for fishing. Other people think she uses them in her garden. Personally? And he stopped and scratched his head. Go on. I think she eats them, Alex said. I thought for a minute. Worm pie? Yeah. And worm stew? And worm juice? And worm soup, I said, getting warmed up. And worm bread. Oh yeah, that's the best, Alex said. Nice soft bread with little worms here and there. Oh, you can make a really tasty worm and cheese sandwich on it, I said. We were doubled over now, laughing our heads off. And worm ice cream, Fudge said, jumping on top of this. Worm ice cream, Alex and I said together. I decided that with Alex Santo in my class, Princeton might not be too bad. That afternoon, Alex and I went digging for worms. We rode our bikes over to the lake. It's easy to ride in Princeton because they have bike paths on every street. Alex had a pail, that's a bucket, and a couple of shovels, and we got to work. Finding worms was no problem. An hour later, we rode back to my house. Mrs. Mulder likes her worms clean, Alex told me, turning on our hose. Well, that figures if she uses them for cooking, I said. We left the pail of worms outside and went in for a drink. When we came out, Fudge was standing next to Tootsie's pram, dangling a worm in front of her. "Cut that out," I yelled, racing over to him. "Why?" "She likes it," Fudge said. "Watch." Alex and I looked into Tootsie's pram. She laughed every time Fudge held up the worm. "You're right," I said. "She does like it. Hey, Mum, look at this." "What is it?" Mum called from where she was weeding Millie's organically grown vegetables. "You've got to come and see for yourself," I called back. She came over, wiping her hands on her jeans. "Watch, Mommy," Fudge said, and he took the worm from behind his back and dangled it into Tootsie's pram. She smiled and gurgled, but Mom screamed, "Get that thing out of here! Hurry up, get rid of it now!" "It's just a worm, Mommy. Don't you like worms?" "No, I don't. I really don't like worms at all. And I never want you to show me another one. Do you understand?" Fudge put the worm on his arm and let it crawl up his shoulder. "See? Isn't he cute? I'm going to call him Willie. Willie Worm. And he'll be my very own pet. And I'm going to sleep with him. And he can eat next to me at the table. And he'll take a bath with me." "Fudge!" "Yes, Mommy? I told you. I don't ever want to see that worm again. And you may not bring him into the house. And you may not hold him close to Tootsie. Do you understand me this time?" "You really don't like worms?" Fudge said. "That's right," Mum said. "I really don't." "Why not?" Fudge asked. "It's nothing I can explain." Mum went back to weeding the garden. Fudge followed her. "Is your family always like that?" Alex asked. "Yeah, you haven't seen anything yet," I told him. On our way to Mrs. Mulder's house, I thought I remembered reading that worms regenerate when you cut them in half. But I wasn't sure, so I asked Alex if he'd ever tried that. "Sure," Alex said, "plenty of times." "What happens?" "Nothing, you just get 2 little worms." "Right, and if Mrs. Mulder pays you 5 cents a worm..." A slow smile spread across Alex's face. "I see what you mean," he said. "Well, how come I never thought of that?" I didn't answer. We dumped our worms on the sidewalk and cut all but one in half. That one was big enough to cut into thirds. So now, instead of 16 worms, we had 33. Mrs. Mulder lived in an old house that was painted gray with blue shutters. Alex rang her bell. A big round woman with hair the color of her house and glasses halfway down her nose came to the door. She wore sneakers and blue jeans and a red and white shirt. "Well, hello, Alex. Long time no see." "Hi, Mrs. Mulder," Alex said. "I've got a new partner now." She looked at me over the top of her glasses. I'm Peter Hatcher. We just moved in down the street." She kept looking at me, so I kept talking. "In the Wentman's house, Millie and George Wentman. They're friends of my mother and father. We're just here for the year to see how we like being away from the city." "Are you finished?" she asked. "Yes." "Good. Then let's get down to business." "We've got 33 for you today, Mrs. Mulder," Alex said. "Real beauties." 33? She held up the jar and studied them. They look awfully small." "Small ones are sweeter," I said. She gave me a strange look this time. So I quickly added, "They'll get bigger later in the summer." "Really? I should think they'd be at their best now." "Oh no," I told her. "They'll be getting fatter and longer by August. By September, they'll be in their prime." "Is that a fact?" she asked. "Uh-huh," I said, praying that she wouldn't guess I didn't know what I was talking about. "Well, we live and learn," Mrs. Mulder said. She went inside and came back with her wallet. "You know," she told us, "I could go down to the filling station and buy a container of worms. But I think freshly dug ones are so much better." She opened her wallet. "Let's see now, 5 cents times 33 worms. That's $1.50. She handed the money to Alex. "Excuse me, Mrs. Mulder," Alex said, "but it's $1.65. Mrs. Mulder laughed. "Can't fool you, can I, Alex?" "No, Mrs. Mulder, not when it comes to maths." "Would you like more worms next week?" "Of course, as many as you can bring me. You can't have too many worms, you know." Alex gave me a look, and we thanked Mrs. Mulder and walked away. Once we were out of earshot, Alex said, "Small ones are sweeter." He gave me an elbow in the ribs. Worm soup tonight, I told him. We exploded laughing. I'll stop there. More about Fudge, Peter, and Tootsie next week. Bye.